class, and welcome to 5.5b. These are the warm-ups before we do the quiz. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've been working really hard lately at all the different types of factoring. Just remember, for factoring, ladies and gentlemen, you want to express it as two or more products. And the different types of factoring go in order. The first thing you always want to try is common factoring. And then if you recognize it as a trinomial in terms of standard form, you want to try simple trinomial factoring where a equals 1. If a does not equal 1, then you're going to use the decomposition method if you can't factor it out. Or, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got a binomial and you could recognize it as a difference of squares, that's your last method of factoring that we've done. The opposite of factoring is called expanding, and that's when you're multiplying. So to take a look, folks, for our quiz that's coming up, I would like you to do these warm-ups. Okay, so remember that when it says expand and simplify, or just simplify, that means to eliminate the brackets. Whereas when it says to factor fully, you're going to create the brackets and create factors by dividing. So I'm going to ask you to do these warm-ups, and then I will pause the video, and then I will show you the answers, and I'll take up what you should do. So pause the video right now. Pause. Okay, welcome back. Before I keep going, hopefully you've got all these done. I want to make sure you're ready for your quiz. So here are the answers, and I will take them up. So, ladies and gentlemen, for number 1, it says to expand, you're going to use FOIL. First, inside, outside, last. And when looking, there's no like terms, so you don't need to collect like terms, but always look for that second step of collecting like terms. For squaring a binomial, you could, ladies and gentlemen, do 2x minus 4 and expand it out to 2x minus 4. Expand, use FOIL, collect like terms, and you'll get the same answer. Or you can use a shortcut, and I'll go over the shortcut. Square the first, double the product, which gives you that middle term, and square the last. Okay? Last question, question C, folks. Be careful because there's an exponent of 2 there. So you leave your first binomial here, and you're going to, again, square the first, double the product, square the last, or expand it out if you need to. Then once you've got your terms collected, if you need to do that, then you do what's an expanded distributive law. So you're going to multiply the 3d by everything in these brackets, and then you're going to multiply the 5 by everything in these brackets, and you'll end up with a 4-term expression that's simplified to that. Take a look at 2, says to simplify. So again, this is just an extreme distributive law where you've got to deal with the sign. So watch your integer lines. You've got to deal with your coefficients in terms of the numbers. And the sign is the integer law. And then you got to figure out your variables. And remember, you use your exponent laws for multiplication where you add the exponents. Okay? And the last one, B here, folks. Got to be careful that whenever you have a division line, that means to solve the numerator first before you do simplify it with the denominator. So you take the negative 2 times 5 gives you the negative 10, and then use your multiplication powers, multiplication of the powers to add them. And on the bottom, be careful here, folks, it is to the power of 2, so it's squared. So negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. And then power of a power law is used here for the exponents on the bottom. And after that, ladies and gentlemen, you use your division laws for exponents, and you will subtract them. And you end up with negative 10xy squared divided by 9. Okay? All right, so that's the expanding using distributive law, FOIL, all that stuff. Now we're going to do the opposite, which is called factor. So factor fully. First of all, I recognize the first one. Can you common factor? No, I can't, but I recognize it as a difference of squares because it's a difference, meaning subtract sign, and the 2 terms are perfect squares. So to set that up, you set up your 2 brackets, 1 positive and 1 negative. Take the square root of the first, which is 5, put it in the first spot in each bracket. Take the square root of the last and put it in the last spot in each bracket. Moving on to B, ladies and gentlemen, you might recognize this as difference of squares, but the problem is these aren't perfect squares. So always, method number 1, common factor first. Put that in your brain for when you do your quiz and when you do your 5A test. Okay, common factor first. So by common factoring, we see we've got a 4F to take out, then our leftovers are in the bracket. But take a look at the leftovers that are in the bracket. That is a difference of squares. So you leave the common factor out front, you set up your two brackets, one positive, one negative, square root of the first, square root of the last. All right, moving on to C. We have g squared minus 12g plus 20. That is in standard form. And taking a look at a equals 1. So that's simple trinomial factoring. Set up your margin work on the side. Find the factor that suits both cases. And sub them in. All right. Taking a look at D, ladies and gentlemen. D is trinomial. Can we common factor anything out? No, we cannot. So we look, is A equal to 1? No, A does not equal 1, therefore decomp. So you've got to do things a little bit different. And remember, when you do decomp, the product is A times C. Okay, so you're wondering where that negative 24 comes from. It's A times C. Set up this, get your factors, and then you do it differently. You split the middle term. So that's going to be 8z minus 3z for the middle term. Then you take a look at the first two terms, what's common. I can take a 2z out. Last two terms, what's common, and negative 1. Notice you have a common binomial of 2z plus 4, and your leftovers are 2z minus 1. All right, folks, last example. Last example, here we go. Taking a look at E. First thing we want to recognize, folks, is that we can common factor out a 6. All right. Taking a look at common factoring out a 6. We then have what's left over is trinomial. It is kind of in standard form, but the trouble here, folks, is we've got x's and y's. But we're going to treat it the same, and I'll show you when we use decomposition how it looks exactly the same. So product, folks, is going to be, again, A times C. This is decomp because A does not equal 1. So you might need to write that down. Okay? So product is 36. Sum is negative 12. Find your two values. And that becomes, you split the middle term. So it's going to be negative 6xy and negative 6xy. Then you collect the first, what's common in the first two terms, and you collect what's common in the, or factor out, not collect, but you factor out what's common in first two terms, and then you factor out what's common in the last two terms, and you keep your common factor out front. And notice here, folks, you got a 2x minus 3 times a 2x minus 3. Make sure you put that down as a factor squared. So here's what I expect from you now, folks, because you're going to do the quiz flipped. Okay, so you're going to be the homework for the quiz. Right now, I'd like you to actually work on algebra worksheets, all the odd questions, and do B only. So you're going to do 1B, 3B, 5B, 7B, 9B. It might be on the next sheet. Okay, or more or less focus on what you need to do. So if you're still stuck on decomposition, go to the decomposition section. Or if you're stuck on difference of squares, go for that. Okay. And then your homework, which we're going to do the next day, and it's kind of flipped, so we're going to be doing that, folks. We're doing that in the flipped environment, okay? All right, so we'll do that during class if this is a flipped class, or if you're just using these videos to watch, then that's what you're actually going to do for homework. Okay, so folks, the only read that, folks, is if it's a not flipped class, but we are using a flipped class when you listen to these videos, so this might be backwards to what you're normally doing. And here's the quiz, ladies and gentlemen, 2 pages. All right, good luck, and try your best, because what's coming up is a review period and then your 5A quiz. So again, come see me if you need any help. Bye, have a great day, and good luck on your quiz, guys.